Hello, my name is Vicky Behrman, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about Henry Ford. Obviously, the vast majority of people have heard of Ford. You see them all over the road. It's a very popular company, and you may even drive a Ford yourself. I may drive a Chevy, but I've never been on either side, Chevy or Ford. I love both, but I'm actually really interested in Henry Ford because it's really where cars pretty much started. So, to begin, Henry Ford was born July 30th, 1863, in Wayne County, Michigan, and he died April 7th, 1947, in Dearborn, Michigan. He was the son of William and Mary Ford, and he established the Henry Ford Company, which was later named the Ford Motor Company. He had a son named Edsel with his wife, Clara. And a little bit more about his background is that when Ford wasn't helping his father with the harvest, he attended a one-room school for 8 years. At the age of 16, Ford walked to Detroit to find work in his machine shops. 3 years later, he came in contact with the internal combustion engine for the first time. When he returned home, he worked part-time for the Westinghouse Engine Company, and Ford set up a small machine shop and built a small farm locomotive, a tractor that used an old mowing machine for its chassis and a homemade steam engine for power. Ford was made chief engineer at the main Detroit Edison Company plant with responsibility for maintaining electric service in the city for 24 hours a day. So Ford had a vision, and his vision and his goal was to build a gasoline-powered vehicle. His vision was the ordinary man's utility rather than the rich man's luxury, and in 1886 he completed his first horseless carriage known as the quadricycle. Ford initially started out as the Detroit Automobile Company, but later became the Henry Ford Company. Ford built several race cars, including the 999 Racer, driven by Barney Oldfield, and in 1902 he left the Henry Ford Company as it would be reorganized as the Cadillac Motor Company. In 1903, Ford was ready to market his automobile, and the Ford Motor Company was incorporated out of a mere $28,000 in cash put up by ordinary citizens. The first automobile that he really created, and very popular, very well known, was the Model T. And I have a quote here that says, "I will build a motor car for the great multitude." That is from the great Ford, the great Henry Ford himself. So October 1908, the Model T was born. And the 19 years of the Model T being in existence, 15,500,000 were sold in the U.S., 1 million sold in Canada, and 250,000 sold in Great Britain. So production total amounting to half the auto output of the world. He had a lot of profit off of this, obviously. And, he stressed low pricing, though, on his automobiles in order to capture the widest possible market and then met the price of the people. So the cost of the Model T at the time, like 1908, was $950. And then in 1927, it went down to $290. And in 1919, Ford announced that they would pay eligible workers a minimum wage of $5 a day compared to an average of $2.34 for industry. So reducing the workday from 9 hours to 8 hours, thereby converting the factory to a 3-shift day. So he had a lot of successes and impacts, obviously, to this day. And the first 5 years, Ford Motor Company produced 8 different models of, the Model T, Model A, Model B, all different sorts of models. And by 1908, there was an output of 100 cars a day. And at that time, these men were building them by hand. It's not like today where we have machines producing cars by the minute. You know what I'm saying? But in less than 2 decades, Ford made it so farmers were no longer isolated on remote farms. They could travel, they could go places now. And the horse disappeared so rapidly that the transfer of acreage from hay to other crops caused an agricultural revolution, which is crazy. So to kind of continue his successes and impacts, the most advanced production technology yet conceived, that is what he is. He really started something, and at the time that technology was insane. There was a new plant in Highland, Michigan that was able to deliver parts, sub-assemblies and assemblies themselves built on subsidiary lines they were a complete chassis, and they turned out every 93 minutes. Before then, it was 728 minutes that was required. So the development of mass production techniques, which enabled the company eventually to turn out a Model T every 24 seconds. These innovations changed the very structure of society. But he ran into some complications, some legal action. Stockholders considered court action to stop Ford from using company profits to expand, and Ford owned 58% of his stock, but Horace and John Dodge take Ford to court, if that sounds very familiar to you. Dodge is another company out there, and they actually used to supply chassis to Ford, but they were starting to manufacture their own. So, they sued Ford for what they claimed was his reckless expansion for reducing prices of the company's profit, thereby diverting money from stockholders' dividends. So, court hearings gave Ford the chance to expound his ideas about business, and unfortunately, in December 1917, the court ruled in favor of the Dodge brothers. But some of his achievements, other than the Model T and what we call the future now of Ford, he purchased a railroad, acquired control of 16 coal mines, and about 700,000 acres of timberland, built a sawmill, acquired a fleet of Great Lakes freighters to bring ore from his Lake Superior mines, and even bought a glass works. Thank you for listening to my presentation on Henry Ford and where the company truly comes from, and I hope you really enjoyed it.